All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Ashley Person. We're going to go ahead and get started here. I'm the graduate assistant for the UPIC program here in the Center for Career and Professional Development. We are so excited to have you today. This is one of our favorite events. We get to talk about all the great work that our UPIC interns have done, are doing, and how they take that experience and move forward into their professional life. So we are so excited to have you all here. We're so thankful to have our panelists with us. This would not be possible without all of you. So thank you so much for participating. And so we can kind of hop right in with introductions. The way this will work today is that we will have our panelists introduce themselves, and then I have some questions for our panelists. And then throughout the workshop, if you have questions that you want to ask, feel free to put that in the chat or unmute yourself if the time's appropriate and ask that question. And then there will be some more structured time at the end of the panel for questions from participants as well. So we have our UPIC staff here. We're thankful everyone's here. So our team is on here as well. And if they have any experiences or thoughts that they want to share, please feel free to do so to all of you as well. Your experience is important and we want to hear about that too. So we will hop right in and we will get started with some introductions. We'll start with our diversity statement. So this is from the Center for Career and Professional Development, and it says, we strive to educate ourselves and others about the issues of a pluralistic society. We are committed to reaching beyond views of individuals to value a community that appreciates and learns individual similarities and differences. Our services and programs seek to create a safe environment that affirms the dignity and worth of everyone. We demonstrate that commitment by embracing differences, including those differences that are not visually apparent. So this is our diversity statement for our UPIC internships here in the Center for Career and Professional Development. And our goal is to provide a space for all types of students, every type of student, to feel safe and come get some experiential education. So moving forward, we will go through introductions. Again, my name is Ashley. I'm the graduate assistant here in UPIC. I'm really excited to be here. I'll be facilitating today, so feel free to reach out if you have any questions or concerns after this as well. And then we can hop on into our panelists. Nick, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, my name is Nick Storm. I'm a 2017 grad. Degree was in financial management, but my career is in marketing. So my UPIC internship was with the University Relations Office, working on the university social media account, so at Clemson Univ. So I did that internship for 3 semesters. After graduating, interned with the Seattle Seahawks for the 2017 NFL season, working in their digital media department. And then for about 3 years after that season was done, I was the director of digital marketing for UC Irvine Athletics. So I was responsible for all the social media content, a lot of other digital marketing initiatives for all of their 18 athletic Division I programs. And then for the past year, I've been working as the digital marketing specialist for Aquionics, doing some B2B digital marketing, some paid search and social, and some email marketing and website SEO, all that fun stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Excited to have you here. All right, Ronnie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ronnie. I am currently a senior economics major, so I'm still at Clemson with minors in political science and sustainability. I'm graduating this spring. But when I was a UPIC intern this past year, entirely virtually, I was a UPIC intern with Dr. Robinson, working as the community studies intern, doing a bunch of sort of economic development projects. We can get more into that with all the questions and stuff. But right now I am, this summer and then into the fall, I work at the Brookings Institution as a economic research intern.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're excited to have you here today. And then Robert is not with us, but if he hops in, we will have him join us as well. He's a quality engineer in aerospace manufacturing with Eaton Corporation in Ohio. So we might get to hear a little bit more about that experience. And then Caitlin.
Hi, I'm Caitlin. I graduated from Clemson in the spring of 2020 with my bachelor's degree. I'm currently at the University of Illinois pursuing my master's of animal science with a focus in meat science and muscle biology. And so I'm also a research assistant. So I get paid to go to school, which is awesome. And when I was at Clemson doing UPIC, I worked for the Clemson Livestock and Forages team. And I also worked with the events office. So I have a little bit of experience with being in Clemson Extension and then funding projects for Clemson Extension. But yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing. All right. So we will kind of hop right in just to some questions that I prepared. And again, feel free to pop a question in the chat or turn your mute off and ask that question as well throughout the presentation. And then we'll have time again toward the end. Just as kind of a broad general question for our panelists today, reflecting back on your UPIC experience, how did you get the most out of your experience? Was there something you focused on doing throughout your time as an intern? Just different practices that you committed to? How did you get the most out of that experience?
Well, I think in my case, since I was doing university social media, I think it was just volunteering for every event that my mentor wanted us to cover on the university account. So it could be like the Miss Clemson University beauty pageant. It could be the class, like ringing the Carillion bells in the Tillman Hall bell tower. I mean, there were so many random little things that like I never would have gone to if I wasn't doing that internship, but also just volunteering for all those just unique campus events really helped my mentor gain trust in me. So when high profile events like the 2017 national championship came up, then it's like, oh, I need Nick with me. We're going to Tampa together. And you get to really take advantage of some of those really unique opportunities that will come up over the course of the year.
Yeah, so when I was a UPIC intern, it was really the same as like Nick, like volunteering to do everything. Like even if I wasn't sure what it was, I was like, well, I'll volunteer, I will figure it out. And it kind of helps you like learn to think on your feet and kind of immerse yourself in new things and like new ideas and like activities. I didn't get to go to the 2017 national championship, which is a bummer, but I did get to go to a bunch of like meetings and conferences that really immersed me into a potential career field that I might think about going into in the future. So it was very helpful on like adjusting and like socializing and introducing yourself in a professional environment.
Yeah, I don't want to belabor their points too much, but I think like to add also really taking advantage of the connections that you might get. And like I worked when I was Dr. Robinson's intern often in like large multidisciplinary group settings. And so I got to really connect with professors and, you know, deans and community members from like across tons of different disciplines. And it was such a cool experience because you got to learn, or I got to learn a lot about, you know, what fields do I actually like and what, you know, what are things that are interesting to me.
Great. And I think you all bring up an interesting point that, you know, you might go into this internship with an idea of the experiences that you think you're going to have that have been laid out for you, but taking advantage of some of those other opportunities that maybe you weren't thinking of before, didn't realize would even be an opportunity that can help you develop and get new and fun experiences. So I love that you brought all of that up. Okay, awesome. So in this role as a UPIC intern, you have a unique relationship where you have a mentor as your as your supervisor. You kind of get to foster that professional relationship. So how did you all foster that relationship and focus on that relationship in terms of networking and creating that foundation in your UPIC internship? And then when you finished your UPIC internship, kind of how that relationship maybe has or hasn't continued to be something that's relevant in your life?
I'll go ahead and take this one first as well. So with my UPIC mentor, Robbie Fitzwater, who unfortunately is no longer at Clemson, but he's off doing great things in Greenville. We basically had like a group chat with me and the other UPIC intern that we all worked together. So whenever there's some event that Robbie might learn of, like later on, I was like, hey, are one of you guys free to go run over and film this like speaker or like go join this club for this thing or whatever. So we had a very active group chat, and that's really just kind of continued since my fellow UPIC intern and I graduated. So we've kept talking throughout. I really, anytime she or I have like a job change that we're going through, like we're in very constant contact with our Robbie, our former mentor. I invited Robbie to my wedding. Unfortunately, couldn't make it due to some COVID issues, but like he's a very good friend, and us being able to maintain that group chat with each other has just continued to foster that relationship well beyond all of our time at Clemson.
Yeah, so me and my mentor, really to like stay involved while I was an intern, I would just ask him questions, really. It was a lot of like, I read this in an article and like, what do you think about this? And you're the professional here, like you have your PhD. I strive to do that. So can you please explain this to me? And it was really like immersing myself into his knowledge and helping him like teach me a lot of different things about Clemson Extension, but also like the world of animal science. And so I think I was constantly in his office. I'm sure he got very annoyed by me being there constantly, but it was really helpful to me because then it helped me transition into the program that I'm in now that is more of a mentorship program. So I was better prepared to be like asking questions and being like, I don't understand this. Can you help me? And so I think the mentorship really helped me like later on. And I don't really talk to my mentor a lot, but I do randomly email him when I see something from Clemson Extension or from the Clemson Extension, like livestock and forages department. And I'm like, I saw this is really awesome. And we kind of catch up and we're like, what are you doing with your life? So not in constant contact, but it's nice to check in. I'm like, how are your kids? That kind of thing. So I still contact my mentor. He definitely is like a big mentor in my life. So.
Yeah, like I mentioned, it was, kind of all virtual. So like forging connections with people over Zoom is not the easiest thing to do. But we still met for like an hour every week. It was just me, like I was the only UPIC intern working with Dr. Robinson. And so we got a lot of opportunity to just like sort of talk about these issues in great depth. And like I got to learn so much just from, again, like Caitlin was saying, his experiences and his expertise, and really asking questions. But he would also, ask me questions, and I just think it was awesome. Such a great way to connect, really having that scheduled time every week. And then I'm still on campus, so I can always drop by his office and, count on him kind of whenever.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you all bring up great points, and you can see, how those relationships can continue in your life, and they can continue to be fostered and provide each other experiences too, as you all develop professionally too. Having that reciprocal relationship of that as well, I think is important, and you all kind of touched on that. So next question for you all is, how did your UPIC internship help steer your career interests? And I think sometimes when we think about an internship and that experience that it might be, we're hopeful that it's going to be one that, validates this is the field I want to go into. But for some folks, that might also be different, right? You might go into that internship and realize, I thought I wanted to do this, and maybe actually now I don't. Now that I've been on the ground doing some of the work, I've had a different experience. And so either way, those are valid experiences. So how did your experience, did it shift the way you were going to approach your career? Did it validate that for you? What did that look like for you all?
So I can go first because I had two UPIC experiences. One was my sophomore year. I interned with the cooperative extension program. Actually, I was an environmental natural resource major. I thought like the USDA was it. Like I was going to go into agriculture. That was the plan. And I think interning with the cooperative extension program, everyone was so amazing. The work was really fulfilling and incredible. But I realized then that like I was doing a lot of like grant, kind of helping write the grants and also do data analysis or like, collect some of the data for the grants. And I was like, this is so cool. Like, how can I get more involved in this aspect of this type of thing? And so from there, realizing community development and economics and things like that. So it really, completely changed what I thought I wanted to do, which was cool.
Absolutely.
Well, in my case, it actually gave me a career that I wanted to pursue. Going through my junior year into the start of my like UPIC internship, like I didn't really know what I wanted to do after Clemson. I was doing business. I was pursuing finance as a degree because that was just what my dad did. And I was like, you know what, this would be a good kind of just degree to have. And I'd always kind of enjoyed like photography and videography and video editing as just kind of hobbies and interests, but didn't really know of a career where those could actually be valuable skills. So when I saw the posting for this position, I was like, oh, awesome. Like I can get paid to make videos for like the university social media account. That's awesome. And then just over the course of my first semester in that position, I was like, wow, like I can actually make a career out of this. This is great. So then I just completely went full on. I was like, okay, like all my experience is gonna be in marketing. Like I'm pursuing marketing like once I'm done. And just it definitely set me on a career path that was gonna be more interesting for me long term and more enjoyable.
Yeah, so I joined Clemson Extension as an intern, and I was like, this might be a potential career field. I have an animal science degree. Like, what am I going to do? Is senior year, you got to figure it out. And so I joined Clemson Extension, and I was like, yeah, I could go into Extension. Like, this would be a good career field. Is steady work. It'd be working with people in the community and with students. And once I started working there, I was like, actually, I don't like this. So I was like a full 180, and I was like, this is not the career that I think I want. But through my internship, I actually was introduced into getting a PhD, going into graduate school. And so through my mentors, one of my mentors was in the meat science field. And so he just kind of was like, this is what meat science is, and this is what it's all about. And I was like, actually, that sounds so cool. And I was like, actually, graduate school sounds awesome. So like my experience itself may not have like given me a career path that I thought I wanted, but it introduced me to the side, like a little tangent of like, you could also do this. So like whatever you experience in there, you might like, it might be crossing things off, but like there is little tangents where you're like, actually, I want to do this. So it kind of helped me figure out like where I wanted to go.
Absolutely. Well, and I think you all kind of shared a scope of what that could look like for UPIC interns, going in and it validating, this is what I want to do, or getting exposed to new positions or information that you didn't know existed, right? So getting into that professional realm and learning more about that area. Like you said, Caitlin, maybe it's similar, but not quite exactly what it is. And then maybe completely changing your trajectory. But I think they're all valid. And with experiential education, that's kind of the purpose. And so I think that that's really great information. And I love that you have a spectrum. We have a spectrum of that you folks have experienced. So thank you for sharing that information. And so let's see, hopping into our next question. So you're all in a range of things post undergrad, still finishing undergrad, right? So how did, let me see, I want to frame this. Some of you are in grad school, some of you are working professionally. How did your UPIC experience, and some of you have touched on this a little bit with getting exposure to different programs you might be able to participate in. How did you kind of navigate making that decision? And how did your UPIC internship experience help create that path for you in deciding what path you did want to follow or are looking into following for you, Ronnie?
So my UPIC interest, obviously, like speaking to my mentors, really helped me drive myself towards graduate school. And also meeting with Jenna when I had like my UPIC thing, and she was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I think I want to go to grad school. And then she was like, we can help you get into that. And she was like, I will help you be prepared to interview and be prepared to answer questions on the fly. And really, UPIC helped set up me like going into an interview and feeling confident in myself and my abilities and like what I valued as a person in the professional world. And so I think really UPIC helped set me up for grad school, and I think it'll help me set up for my future career that I will enter into. But it really helped lay that groundwork, even though I was in a different like field completely. it still like helped me like establish skills and be confident in myself and exposure to an environment.
Thank you so much for sharing. Does anyone else want to add to that? Rania, you had to unmute yourself.
I can add, I'm still a senior in college and I kind of don't know what I'm gonna do, but I like definitely working with Dr. Robinson in the UPIC office helped me to figure out like grad school is definitely what I want to do long term. But I think working in between grad school and undergrad is also really valuable. I can get a lot of questions answered. And I think like feeling empowered enough to be like, you know what, I don't need to go straight into grad school and like get stressed and be a student for another X amount of years. Like I can work, and I don't know, that was a really huge like realization for me working with the UPIC office.
Yeah, I think on just whether deciding to go right into grad school or wait a little bit of time and go in later, I think just really kind of depends on what you want to do and kind of what timing works best for you. In my case, just doing regular business, I didn't really need to go and get an MBA right away. So it was good for me to go out and have a couple positions and have a couple years of work experience before looking at that. I'm about halfway through an MBA program right now that I'm doing online through Winthrop. And I think waiting a little bit, having those couple years of experience was actually valuable to me, because now when I'm going through classes and we're talking about certain things, whether it's marketing or management or accounting, whatever it might be, then it actually kind of I am able to validate some of what the book and what the teacher are saying with my past experience, and kind of really develop more of a deeper understanding of some of those topics or particular items, versus if I was just going straight from Clemson straight into an MBA program and not really having that real life applicable experience to it at that point. So yeah, I think it just really depends on kind of what career path you're trying to go, whether you want to go right away or not.
Absolutely. And I think that what this kind of shows us is that we have folks who have gone different paths, but within that UPIC internship experience, you are gaining experience in the professional realm, you are gaining those transferable skills. So should you choose to enter the workforce immediately or go into grad school, you will gain those different types of skills. And even if it's not the exact field or the exact program that's similar, the transferable skills in that experience working professionally will set you up to navigate both of those situations truthfully. And so it's great that we have different experiences there to highlight as well. And someone had mentioned in the chat that was their comment too. So again, if you have questions, feel free to put that in the chat and we'll make sure that we get that addressed as well. All right, so kind of looking at that grad school, professional, whatever that looks like for you, I imagine you've all participated in some type of interview, whether that be for your positions or grad school or different internships that you may have had beyond UPIC and things like that. So how have employers reacted to that internship experience that you had with UPIC? What types of things maybe have they asked you about it? And how have you shared that in an interview to portray the skills and the experience that you did have as a UPIC intern?
Well, at least for my two kind of first jobs out of school, I weighed very heavily on my UPIC experience, especially for my internship with the Seahawks immediately after graduating. My resume was one summer working for my dad and my UPIC internship, and that was it. So the Clemson brand and the experience I got at Clemson of working in that position carried so much weight for me and was really providing me so many different things to talk about through the course of the multiple interviews that they put me through, but also just got me really comfortable talking to people. I mean, because in a social media role where you're involved in covering so many different events on campus, you kind of get forced to talk to so many different people. So if I hadn't been in that position, I wouldn't have gotten to know the guys in Tiger Roar. I wouldn't have been backstage with people at like the Miss Clemson beauty pageant or been at dance marathon or all these different types of things. Like it just forces you to get very comfortable talking to people you don't know, and just coupling that with the experience and drilling that in, you get very confident in your skill set, but you also get very confident talking to people you don't necessarily know. So those two really paired well together for me to be able to joke about my degree switch from computer science in my very first semester at Clemson to business, and be able to talk about being really cool and calm on the sidelines, not taking photos with Sam Ponder, but like dapping up Shaq Lawson on the sideline of the national championship game and not making a big deal out of it, not getting super starstruck. There were definitely just so many things that my UPIC position really carried a lot of weight for in those initial interviews now, or going out of school.
Yeah, so when I bring up my UPIC internship when I interviewed for graduate school, I always made sure to bring it up because I felt that it showed that I had a lot of diversity because while in college, I worked 3 jobs. So I was like, I did a UPIC internship and I worked at this farm and I did this. And it was always like, but my UPIC internship taught me that like this diversity is important. And I learned so much more outside of just like how my UPIC specific internship ran. I learned so much more about like myself and how to like present myself in the professional world. And so I really, when I bring up that internship, I was like, this taught me that I might not be the exact fit for a job, but I have all the skills and I can learn and I can train and I can be the person that you need for this position. And it also, my UPIC internship really helped show like I might not be like fit specifically into this spot. However, I have done all these other things that are so random that I will gladly learn and adjust and I will fit right in. And so it really helped me like point out that I am different. I do stand out, but I can adjust and learn as much as you want to let me learn.
Yeah, I think that diversity piece is really important. Like, and also the transferable skills. Like, I specifically, I have less experience than the others, but I like applied for an internship with the Brookings Institution, like a very heavy research, very heavy quantitative, like data stuff. And I had this UPIC experience that was very programmatic, very hands-on, working with community members, working with professors, and I wasn't really expecting. I was kind of nervous to go into that interview to talk about this experience. It did not match up at all with what I was going to do, and I think we ended up talking about that for like a large portion of the interview because they were so interested in how the programmatic hands-on experience is unique for a research assistant and is unique, and it provides you with an like new perspective that is like refreshing. And so I think there are ways, like if you're nervous about applying for something that doesn't really match your UPIC internship or your experience, like there are ways to like frame it. Like I had to talk about really like social injustices and like race and gender issues with community members and people with different experiences than me, and that's like something that's absolutely invaluable and will, whatever job you take, like will serve you. So there's ways, I think, to frame your experiences.
Yes, absolutely. You all made great points. Thank you for sharing. So kind of this idea, you're kind of in these areas, you're pursuing these programs and fields. What ways have you found are successful in terms of networking professionally and keeping those relationships? What strategies have you used? What has worked for you? And have you seen be beneficial in terms of networking now with your colleagues and peers and things like that?
Well, one unique thing for kind of marketing that I've found is social media is actually a very big networking tool. I mean, LinkedIn is obviously very popular from a professional business perspective, but especially within social media, digital marketing, even traditional marketing, Twitter has actually become a big networking tool as well. So probably about half the people I follow on Twitter are other marketing professionals of other brands, universities, athletic teams. If you really looked into it, I'm sure there's other industries out there that have their own hashtag. It's like for marketing folks, it's like just hashtag marketing Twitter, and you can literally find like dozens of marketing professionals that you can interact with or talking about other marketing topics, and just allows you to really branch out and meet other people in your field. And that can turn into Slack groups or Discord servers or whatever it might be. There's if you really look out there definitely are ways to really be able to network pretty easily, especially in this virtual modern age.
Yeah, I would agree with Nick. Like LinkedIn, like if you meet someone one time, like introduce yourself, you have a talk, find them on LinkedIn, follow them, because those connections that you make with those people on LinkedIn, you're going to connect with the people that know them on LinkedIn. And like make sure your LinkedIn is up to date. Go follow people, like stuff. Like networking through LinkedIn is so great. I have like cold messaged people on LinkedIn because I'm like, I saw you did this research and I think that is so awesome. And I just want to know more about it. Can we like set up a Zoom call, set up a phone call? Like, I would love to talk to you about this. But then like also like when you go to like conferences or talks or just meeting with your professors, like network with people that they know, or like if your professor or your mentor knows somebody, you should network with the people that they know. So then like later on in your career, you can be like, oh, I worked under Dr. Such and such, and he went to the University of Florida with you. And that's so great. We have a connection here. And so then you can build a relationship off of that. But like, just like talking to people that know people, you know, it's like the world is a small town. One person knows everybody. So just network and then follow people on LinkedIn, and don't be afraid to cold email, cold call. It's really awkward at first, but once you do it a couple times, it gets easier and you feel more confident in yourself. So just like making sure you're keeping those connections, staying active on social media too. Like I'm sure there's not a meat science Twitter, but there's probably Twitter for everything else. And I mean, I'm on Twitter constantly, so more power to you if you can find it on there. But yeah.
That's a great point about talking to professors and their connections at conferences and stuff. I went to a marketing conference in Orlando pre-COVID and was talking to all the different vendors, and people had reached out to us to interact with us at the conference. And one of the businesses I was talking to was the cousin of my UPIC mentor. So then all of a sudden we're like striking up a conversation, sending selfies to him like, hey, what's up? And then I'm all connected with him on LinkedIn and Twitter, and we're chatting about different stuff in the college athletics marketing space. So you never know who you might run into who has a connection to somebody.
I feel like this might be blasphemous to say on this, but I hate networking so much. I am such an introvert and it stresses me out, and like whatever. I don't think that's like a unique experience. I think it stresses a lot of especially young people out. But I feel like the experiences that have been the most fruitful, or the connections that have been the most fruitful, have been ones where I've just been authentically interested and like curious about what they do. And like I think just like one person at a time, like it is just cold like messaging them on LinkedIn if they're doing like a really cool thing that you also want to do or like learn more about. I think it's like it can feel so gross, at least to me, and like I don't want to ask you for things, but it's really like people are so excited to talk to you. Like everyone wants to talk about their jobs because they love what they do and they want you to love what you do, and if they can help you, they're going to, of course they want to. So yeah, I think changing the mindset, at least for me this past like 4 years here, has been helpful.
Ronnie, I think you bring up a great point that can be something that might be intimidating for someone, you know, in an internship or entering the professional realm. And I think, like you said, that might not be a unique experience. That might be something that's common for folks. And so what I like to tell students too is at the end of the day, like if you approach it, like you had said, with curiosity and a genuine interest, the worst thing that will happen is maybe that someone doesn't respond, or maybe they don't have the time to meet, but maybe they could connect you with someone else, or maybe they could, you know, do something that way. So you bring up a great point, and I think it's something that people do experience. But like you said, slowly, one person at a time. And like Caitlin and Nick both said, you never know who you're going to run into. So you're always kind of, you know, in that space, and you never know who you're going to meet that could be a connection. So thank you all for sharing that information. All right. Now I have a couple questions about, we have the competencies within the Center for Career and Professional Development that are woven into our UPIC internship experiences. And so Nick requested we refresh you a little bit on what they are. So I will do that for y'all. We have three clusters. We have engagement, innovation, and professionalism. Within engagement, we have communication, collaboration, and leadership. Within innovation, we have adaptability, analytical skills, technology. And then within professionalism, self-awareness, integrity and ethics, and brand. And for any current UPIC interns who are on this Zoom right now, you'll get exposure to that if you've had a site visit. If you hadn't, that will come up in some coursework and some conversations that you're having with our UPIC staff here. So if you haven't heard much about those, you will. I'm sure most of you probably already have. So when thinking about those competencies for you panelists, what competency or skill do you wish that you had spent more time developing before you had entered the workforce? And if you need to generalize or kind of group those together, that's okay too.
I'm going to say adaptability, because as much as I did learn about adaptability and like adapting, you never know how to adapt until you're in the situation that you're in. And so like, you never know until you were thrown to the wolves, what is going to happen. And so like, just really like, I wish I would have thrown myself to the wolves more times than I did. I wish I would have thrown myself into projects that I thought were a lot more risky, and like I would have like done a lot more to just prepare myself for when you are thrown into that situation and you can't be like, actually, I don't want to do this. You have to like actually do it in your career and in the professional world. And I really wish I would have just immersed myself even more than I already did. I feel like adaptability is something that goes on. It's infinite. You can keep going and keep going. So I just wish I really would have like thrown myself into even more projects, even more like talks and conferences, and even conversations with people at conferences, so that I could just be a little bit more comfortable with like approaching people and topics and ideas.
I think for me, it's like brand. I think I like at every, like I had like 3 of those UPIC meetings, and at every one it was like brand is so hard for me. But I think like just taking more time while you're in the internship to reflect on like how this internship is like, why you're motivated to do this work and like why it's important to you. And then also, what is the role of this internship in your broader story, and like how is this aiding you going forward, and how am I going to talk about this? That's like very, like it sounds a little bit like just getting ready for an internship or an interview or whatever. But I think like it's really helpful to just reflect on like, well, what did I like about this, and what did I learn and you'd be so surprised in like one semester. I feel like after I reflected, I learned way more than I thought I would just from like a part-time internship. And I think like that's just so important, and it helps to build this idea of yourself that you can present well to future employers.
I think at least for me, something that I struggled with at the time during my internship and still am continuing to grow in is just adaptability. I remember one specific thing during my internship when my mentor was like, hey, like let's start editing our videos for Instagram in Square, and we're gonna like add some like text captions to them as well. And at the time I was like, what the hell? Like Square videos? Like everything's always just that 1920 by 1080, like a long horizontal. And like I initially didn't know how to make Square videos. I had to Google it and kind of figure it out real quick. But at first I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, just trust me, it's gonna work out great. And then sure enough, like a couple months later, like every video on Instagram is like Square. I was like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. And then there's constantly things. I mean, the pandemic was a great example that probably put everyone to task on how adaptable they can really be. It's really tough trying to figure out what to post on social media for athletic teams when they can't practice, they can't do like community events, they can't have games, and yet all of the coaches now that they don't have anything to do are very interested in their social media. So it's, what do you do? So I think adaptability for me probably took a global pandemic, but now I'm an expert at it. Yeah, I like any of those things that you can I could go on and on about like how I wasn't as good at the time and have just continued to grow throughout the course of my career.
Yes. So kind of as a follow-up to that, what competency or cluster do you think your UPIC internship helped you develop the most in throughout your time as a UPIC intern? That has
I
been
think at least for
beneficial.
me,
Sorry.
I think at least for me, it was probably self-awareness and just
Okay.
getting a better sense of myself and how I work, what I need to be doing outside of work to make sure I'm performing at my best. Um, I've been adaptable in adjusting to this remote work environment, but after 18 months of doing it, I kind of realized like, hey, I miss being in an office. I miss being around people. I miss having a team of like interns that I was teaching and helping mentor. So when my next job change comes up, being in an office is going to be a priority for me.
Mhm.
And being able to have more of that routine of waking up early, doing my workout, going to the office for a couple hours, coming home, making dinner, all that good stuff. The remote work was a test of my adaptability, but it has also given me more of a chance of my self-awareness of what really works best for me and how I perform at my best and am most comfortable.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
I think for me, it was definitely communication. I feel like I keep saying it was all virtual, but like that was such a big part of the internship. And it really forced me to like learn how to not over communicate, but communicating virtually is
Mhm.
tricky, and like conveying different things over the phone or through email or over Zoom is hard. And so definitely growing that skill, especially with such a diverse group of people that I was trying to work with to convey these messages in a way that made sense to them, but also like, you know, didn't offend anyone or like all these things. I think it was definitely a learning curve, but Dr. Robinson was really helpful in like helping to guide me with that.
I think mine would definitely be my brand and really what I value as a person and as a person in a professional environment. So when I started my UPIC internship, I was like, "Oh, I'm a student. I'm a child. I'm a kid. I'm not an adult. I'm not a professional." And so through my UPIC internship, I really developed into a professional, and I was like, "I might be a student. I might be 20 years old, but I am important. My opinions matter. This is me. This is what I value. These are the morals that I think I need in a professional environment. These are the ethics that I think need to be followed," and really developing that brand. And it really helped me adjust because I did move to Illinois. I don't know anyone in Illinois. I don't know anybody near the state of Illinois. And really like keeping true to myself and true to myself in the professional environment and just like immersing myself in a new culture, completely a new career, and really being like, this is what I value. This is what I have to have. This is me. My like opinion matters, and really just keeping true to myself and that brand that I had developed during my time as an intern.
Yes, thank you all so much for sharing. When you reflect on your UPIC experience and your transition now into the places that you're in, is there anything looking back that you wish you had done differently that you would give some advice on and just say, I wish I would have done this and I think that could have helped me develop here, or anything like that that you wish you would have leaned into a little bit more that you'd want to share?
Nope. I thought my experience was awesome. I felt like I squeezed the orange as much as I possibly could to get all the juice out of it. Yeah, no.
All right.
I think I wish I went to more of the like UPIC office events and networked more with other UPIC interns. I think like I really didn't do a lot of that. I kind of was just doing my own thing. Granted, I guess the circumstances were like everyone's lives was just kind of lived in their bedroom. So like, but at the same time, I wish I had really taken advantage of, which I'm still at Clemson. So, I
Mhm.
still can, but
Yeah.
the like wealth of resources that the UPIC office and um, the Career Center offers.
I wish I would have done UPIC sooner. I wish I would have not waited until my senior year to do an internship through UPIC, because it would have been valued so much more to me when I was in college. And I think it would have opened my eyes a little bit more to potential careers and even just the professional environment. And I wish I would have had it sooner so I could have networked more while I was at Clemson and like develop those relationships before I left Clemson. And so now it's just something that I'm like, I wish I would have done it sooner so I could have had more time. Like I wish I would have had more time, but I mean, I'm still happy with how it turned out.
Yes. Awesome. All right. So my final question for you all, before we open this up to participants to ask any questions that they might have, is what advice do you have for students maybe interested in going into a UPIC internship, maybe entering your career field, or any professional advice that you have received? You can kind of take that question however you want and focus how you want to, but any final thoughts or advice that you have for our folks in this Zoom meeting today?
Well, at least I know one of the questions was on the list that we didn't get to was when you're applying for jobs, is it who you know? And I would say you can do both. You can hustle on LinkedIn, you can apply to all kinds of positions that you think you're a good fit for. And you can also put a message in an alumni group for your just Clemson in general, maybe your sorority or fraternity or club sport. And that might lead to a couple LinkedIn messages, which turns into a job offer. Like you never know how your job hunt could go. So just definitely take advantage of your networking. Clemson has a strong alumni network, whether you're in Seattle and you're meeting in some pub by the Space Needle to watch Clemson games, or you're somewhere across the Southeast, Northeast, or Illinois. Clemson definitely has a strong network. So take advantage of it, but also don't be afraid that if you don't know anyone and there's a big brand that you want to go after, don't be afraid to hustle and show them that you really want it.
Yeah, I would definitely say name drop Clemson University. Like when you see a Clemson University grad, walk up to them, introduce yourself. Clemson is a huge family. So like I've randomly met people at conferences. I will see a Clemson ring and I'm like, when did you graduate? Like, did you love your time at Clemson? Or if somebody like mentions they're from South Carolina, I'm like, oh, did you go to Clemson? Like definitely like as annoying as it might be, like make sure you like tell people you're like, I went to Clemson. Like that name has a lot of value when you are entering the professional field and just networking with people. And I wish I would have done that sooner. Like when I meet people, I wish I would be like, I went to Clemson University, I did this and stuff like that, because the name does hold a lot of value outside of football, inside of football. I mean, either or. You can also talk about football. Great way to segue into networking. Like you might not even know anything about football, but also another big thing for me is like, besides like mentioning Clemson, is like, just be confident. Just like whatever you're doing, be confident in what you're doing. You might not fit the job description, but just act like you do. Like be confident in who you are and what skills you have, and like be like, I can work Microsoft Excel. I am great at Microsoft Excel. You might have to Google things every once in a while, but that's okay because nobody can remember everything. But just like be confident, be you, just like really just stand out is the best thing, and like embrace your differences and the diversity that you do bring to the table.
Wow, that was such good advice, both of you. I feel like I'm learning so much, but I like definitely echo that. Like Google is my best friend when I'm like in this current internship and even with, other things. But it's also, I think no one really knows what they're doing ever. Like I think like no one has it figured out, so might as well just like not fake it till you make it, but like be confident in yourself and like be confident in the ability that you have to learn and to grow, and like you'll figure it out, and like whatever, like no one knows what's going on, so just have fun and go for those positions.
just to piggyback on what she said really quick before we open up to questions, probably one of the greatest skills you can learn in your UPIC internship now, and when you initially get into the whatever your future career is how to troubleshoot and problem solve. That was probably one of the greatest things I learned from my Seahawks internship, was how to troubleshoot and problem solve. It wasn't how to work a camera, it wasn't like the best angle to get. It was, okay, here's a problem, like a battery's not working, the audio's not working, like how do I solve it? And then taking those troubleshooting and problem solving skills and applying it to other things. So while you're still a student and while it's still, you're still young and figuring things out, ask lots of questions, figure out like, okay, like, have you run into this problem before? How did you solve it? And start developing those thought processes of how do I solve problems? Because that will really carry a lot of value as you enter your career field, advance your career field, start reaching senior level management positions. Because those are definitely like high value skills that not everyone has, even as they do advance in their career.
Yeah, absolutely. You've all made some great points. Thank you so much. All right, so I'd like to open up the floor if any folks in the Zoom have any questions they'd like to bring to the panelists, or if any of our UPIC staff have anything they'd like to add or share with everyone as well. Please feel free to unmute yourself and do so.
I just want to add that every time y'all do one of these, I learn something new from y'all. And even if you've done it before, I'm like, yes, that's also true. You know, I don't know how you just continue to pull out this knowledge, but I think it's just really awesome and it's useful. And, you know, a lot of the stuff that we say to students, you guys are now living proof of that, you know, and you guys have seen it, you guys have done it. So I just hope the students on the call, you know, kind of take heed on that, and that a lot of the stuff we do in UPIC and the Career Center and at Clemson in general really is designed to get you, you know, get you involved and get you to experience those things that are going to help you go far. And that's why Clemson, you know, like Caitlin was saying, that's why Clemson grads stand out. And that's why, you know, y'all go to a great school, and hopefully you'll feel prepared when you get out there. So just wanted to add that. Always super proud of y'all.
All right. And just so you all know, for participants in the conversation, I'll be sharing I'll send a follow-up email that has information on our new postings for the spring semester. If we have students in here who are interested in learning more about those positions, if you joined us today to learn a little bit about that, and then just some resources and contact information for you as well. If you do have direct questions or want to get in touch with anyone in the UPIC office, we are happy to do so, answer any questions that you have specifically about UPIC internships and things like that. Also, for our participant students today, you will be entered if you were here today into an opportunity drawing to win a few goodies from Clemson, CCPD, UPIC. So I will randomize that and send you a follow-up email to set up a time for you to pick those things up if you are the winner. So if no one has any questions, if you do, you can email them to me. I can get you in touch with folks and we can get those things answered for you as well. But I just, again, wanted to thank our panelists, thank our participants, our UPIC staff, everyone for being here today. We really appreciate you. We love this event and it wouldn't happen without all of you. So thank you so much for being here and enjoy your weekend. Happy Friday. Yeah.